Welcome to OpenTechTalks.tv. Today we have a guest speaker, Sébastien Night, founder and CEO of OneTake AI. And this is interesting because as we are also recording this video, right, as a podcast, and this startup is targeting this specific area. So let's welcome Sébastien on the show.
Hi, Kashif.
Thank you so much, Sébastien, joining. So if for listeners, who is Sébastien and what he's doing, what he was doing, and now what ventures or what are the new, we can say, the targets which you're achieving nowadays?
So I'm the co-founder and CEO of OneTake AI.
Mhm.
The people that we help with our software are mostly small business owners, either people that are solopreneurs or really small teams. They are in a business where they need the internet to communicate and let people know about their business. And so to do that today, you need to have free content, long form content for YouTube, short form content for Instagram, TikTok, and other platforms.
Mhm.
And you need to have marketing videos for your own website and ads. And what we've found in my previous business, the Free Entrepreneurs Movement, which I
Mhm.
ran for 12 years from 2010 to 2022, is that we coach 300,000 entrepreneurs in 41 countries and
Okay.
on starting and growing their businesses in many fields. And what
Mhm.
I noticed getting closer to the COVID years was that many of the technical challenges that people were facing in growing their business in the 2010s had been solved. If you are a coach and you want to sell an online course, there's a tool for you, a free tool. There's thousands of them where you can
True.
just upload your content, have a password for people to access. It's Stripe was not a thing when we started coaching
Mhm.
people. Now it's super easy to set up shop. However, the one technical issue that many of our customers were facing that was still not solved was how do I go from I have this expertise or topic I want to talk about around my product to this is content that is high quality that I can publish online. And so I had this vision in 2021 of building an AI tool where you could just record the content as raw as you come from your phone, your computer, or any other tool, and then rely on the AI to do the same job that a professional video editor would. Remove the stutters and the mistakes,
Okay.
eliminate the background noise, compose some music that matches the theme of my video, add titles and transitions, and basically transform something that is raw and unprofessional into a professional presentation. So that's how One Take was born. In the first year, we went from 0 to 100 customer businesses. Second year, from 100 to 400. And this year, from 400 to about 3,000. We're probably going to end the year in having done about 10x in terms of businesses that we serve.
Okay. And now let's take a journey. You were doing this freedom movement for 10, 12 years,
Mm-hmm.
and you identified the problem. Now, maybe this problem was based on your experience while working with, and you highlighted that one. But how did you validate this one? That yes, this after identifying the problem, this is the solution. So how you reached out to the customers to validate the idea and then move on?
Um, this came from a conversation with, so the initial idea came from a conversation with a friend of mine who wanted to start a startup. And he
Mhm.
said, I might be interested in selling tools to the same customers as you are. And so he was
Right.
using me to do some market research, basically. And I told him, from my expertise in the market, that I could see there were five, and I called them at the time in English. You would say silver bullet. There was, in
Mm-hmm.
my opinion, five silver bullet pieces of software that were missing in the market at that time. And I said,
Okay.
if you do any of those five, it's probably going to be an easy sell. If you do something that already exists, like email, CRM, tool for salespeople, things like that, that are overcrowded, it's tough.
Mm-hmm.
But what you want is something where the demand is there, but the tools are not yet there. And this idea for one take was one of the five that I told him. And he struggled with the idea of launching his business, and then he went to work for a very large French financial institution
Mm-hmm.
instead. But he could have started this, and I was sitting there and thinking, this idea is so good, somebody should do it. And then
Hmm.
I read a book from Victoria Labalme called
Mm-hmm.
Risk Forward. And one of
Okay.
the pages in the book, she says something that struck with me. She says, stop delegating your vision.
Hmm. Mm-hmm.
And what I understood from that is, if you think something needs to be done and has huge potential, maybe that means you're the person to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, okay, maybe there's some substance here. But
Okay.
as you said, I needed to validate it. I wouldn't just
Mm-hmm.
close. So my existing business was doing 7 figures. I was not just going to close that and start with my wild idea. So I had two important validation events. The
Okay.
first one is, I have a close friend who had been teaching video editing and a specific type of video editing for 10 years. And he was selling a course. We promoted it together for a long time. We made millions of euros selling this course for small businesses to edit their videos themselves.
Okay.
Uh, and this course was 2,000 euros a piece.
Hmm.
And so my first validation was, imagine that this is a very successful, product, teaching
Mm-hmm.
people how to do it for 2,000. Now, what if for the same 2,000 you could have the course and a tool that did the job for you? That should sell at least as well as the course by itself. And
Hmm.
then what if the tool was cheaper? Like, we don't need to charge 2,000. Maybe it's 1,000 to get access to
Right.
it. Wouldn't that be like? Would people be more likely to pay less and
Mm-hmm.
not do any work versus pay more and learn to do it? So that was my first rough idea for validation. The second is, with this friend, we decided to run a survey.
Okay.
Um, and over the course of one weekend, we had 450 business owners fill the survey. It was a fairly intricate one. We had, if I remember right, we had 46 questions in there,
Hmm.
because we were trying to see what proportions of this audience
Mm-hmm.
was planning to create new videos this year.
Okay.
Were they already publishing videos? At which
Mm-hmm.
frequency? For
Mm-hmm.
what purpose? What software were they using? And what were their top objections with this software? Which, this one was a funny one, because when we asked people what would like what would be the number one thing that would make the perfect video editing software for you, the top answer, the majority answer was, if they said it would be perfect if I never had to edit a video ever again.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I understood this, which was, initially we were going to create a video editing tool,
Mm-hmm.
but I understood that what people were looking for is not um, better software for them to work on their videos. They were looking for software that could do the job without them. And so that's where the direction of the software changed and how we
Okay.
validate.
And who helped you to develop this product? Did you hire some team?
So I'm an engineer from École
Mm-hmm.
Centrale Nantes, which is the French equivalent of Ivy League engineer schools.
Mm-hmm.
However, I had not been a practicing software engineer for
Right.
a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I started my first business in 2006, the same year that I graduated from engineer school.
Mm-hmm.
So I recognized that I could um, design the product in the sense of creating the specs, understand the architecture, make a lot of technical decisions. But if I was going to build it myself, it would take about 150 years
Mm-hmm.
to get it done, just because I would be too rusty in the development of things. And it's funny because, like, I'm an engineer and I understand everything, and I'm going on GitLab, but A funny thing is when I started working on the code with developing team, and somebody said we should use Node. I was like, you want to use JavaScript on the server side? Are you crazy? Because I was still locked into my PHP. This is what I learned.
True.
Learn PHP. That's so. Today I have a co-founder, Vladimir. I met him on Y Combinator, which is an accelerator. I met him on their platform for finding a co-founder. It was quite an adventure to find each other because when I entered my profile and my list of preferences, there were 3,000 profiles that matched my search. I went through all the 3,000 profiles one by
Okay.
one, reading everybody's profile. I sent, I would say, probably 100 like invitations.
Okay.
I had tens and tens of conversations with different people.
Mm.
Some amazing technical people that had worked in
Mm.
research at
Mhm.
Amazon, Apple, Microsoft, and other big companies. But the one person that instantly was a perfect match was Vlad for two reasons. One was on the technical side. He had been one of the major engineers at vid.io, which is one of the incumbents in the space, big video editing software company.
Mhm.
And second was a cultural and personality fit.
Okay.
And so we connected really well and decided to work together in OneTake.
So now, what part of AI is into it? How you doing? Are you managing some algorithms, models? So who knows that tech stuff?
You mean what part of the software
The
is
software,
AI-based?
yeah, yeah.
Okay, so when we take a raw video,
Mm-hmm.
in order to turn it into a professional presentations, we have to work at least three levels.
Okay.
One level is the audio. So this is purely improving the quality of the sound of the video by
Mm-hmm.
removing the background noise and also composing a music track that would match with the video.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So to compose the music track, you basically have two models. One is a language model that takes the transcript of what the video is saying to figure out themes. So we have a very good translation from the content to figure out instructions you would give to a musician
Okay.
to write the track. And then there's a model that composes the music. So the audio is one layer.
Mm-hmm.
The second layer is the what I call the semantic layer. So
Right.
for us to make what we call a newer video, one of the principles is you want the key items to appear on screen, like
Mm-hmm.
titles for the different sections, um, main points being listed. And so for that, you need an understanding of the content that is spoken in the
Right.
video. So our software is made for for presentations,
Mm-hmm.
interviews, podcasts, face-to-camera videos. It's not
Mm-hmm.
made like you wouldn't make your holiday videos with it.
Right.
It's not to it. So the semantic layer is mostly um, based on the text of what is said on the video. So there's lots of transformations there. We've
Mm-hmm.
fine-tuned Llama 3 models
Mm-hmm.
to do our own work there. And then you have the computer vision layer,
Okay.
which is, I'll give an example of an upgrade that we had to do based on customer feedback.
Mm-hmm.
If you're doing a face-to-camera video
Right.
and you have a speaker that is looking for their words,
Mm-hmm.
okay, they might say a sentence with very long pauses between words, which is fine if you're
Right.
presenting on stage, but online
Right.
people like things to be snappy.
Mm-hmm.
So by default, originally, what we would do when we are dealing with the audio layer is we would
Mm-hmm.
identify all of the awkward silences and just remove
Mm-hmm.
them.
Right.
What happened is a use case that we had not foreseen showed up. We
Mm-hmm.
ended up having initially a couple and then tens of them and then hundreds of them, people that are practitioners of mechanical skills. So
Mm-hmm.
like a yoga trainer a golf. We have some of the biggest golf instructors in Europe, are users of our software. And so the problem was, in the video, they would say, now, look at how I do this drive. Stop. And the
Hmm.
AI would listen to it,
Really?
not watch it, and say, well, they stop talking, and then they resume talking like 10 seconds later and saying, you have to buy. So it would cut the actual
Cut, cut.
demonstration of the thing. And so these customers came back to us and said, I have a problem because your AI removes every time I show
Everything.
something, it removes it. So we had to improve the model to be
Mm-hmm.
able to understand the difference between an involuntary silence, which is somebody
Mm-hmm.
looking for their words or stumbling, or
Mm-hmm.
when there's a mic problem,
Mm-hmm.
versus when it's a voluntary silence,
Mm-hmm.
a
Mm-hmm.
meditation session, physical
Mm-hmm.
demonstration, somebody writing on the blackboard behind them,
Mm-hmm.
and so that added this extra layer.
Okay, excellent. So you have gone through audio, build, even creating a music, then even using large language model with the vision model, right? So if
Yes.
someone new with the generative AI from last 1.5 year, and if someone new from our listeners, and they want to take it, some takeaways from your experience, and
Mhm.
they need to go from any use case, maybe implementing for within their organization, or maybe they want to take it to build a new product.
Mhm.
What are your some key tips which you can share with them while working on the
So
specific
you
to
mean
AI?
as someone that wants to use those tools in their business or to create a new
In the
product?
Yeah, from an AI point of view.
Okay, from an AI point of view. Um, First, I will say that there for most products, and it was definitely the case for us.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll give a concrete use case here. For most products, I think that there are sticking points for the end user
Mm-hmm.
that you can today facilitate with AI.
Mm-hmm.
And this means that you might expand the feature set or the tools
Right.
in a way that was not initially scheduled. I'll give our own example. Everything I explained so far was how our tool takes a raw video, gives a professional result. Um, and we ended up having people being stuck in two places, before and after. So on the
Right.
after side, we had people that say, well, I have this professional video, but I want to speak to an international audience. So that's when we implemented a video translation so that
Mm-hmm.
somebody watching your video sees you speak in their language.
Right.
But the main problem for most users was before. It was,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I have this tool that can edit my videos.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that I have no clue what to say in the video.
Mm-hmm.
And so for this, we built a chat-based assistant, which is based on retrieval augmented generation, which
Right.
means
Mm-hmm.
basically it learns from all the videos you've done before,
Okay.
so that proactively it can give you ideas of content and outlines and
Mm-hmm.
scripts for your videos. This
Okay.
was not a direction that we had initially thought
Mm-hmm.
for the product because we were only working on the video side, but we
Mm-hmm.
noticed that we could help our users get unstuck by thinking through their current sticking point and
Mm-hmm.
proactively providing help there.
Mm-hmm.
This increased our daily use of the software significantly,
Mm-hmm.
even though it's not
Plan.
technically a video feature,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And right now people are using, so they are using the chat-based assistant for many tasks that are
Mm-hmm.
not even video related,
Mm-hmm.
because the way we built the RAG pipeline makes the assistant similar to somebody that has watched all of your videos before.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So for most of the businesses that we're working with, if you have done, let's say, a few webinars or presentations, or you've been
Mm-hmm.
interviewed on podcasts, and now you have this AI that knows everything you've ever spoken on your YouTube
Mm-hmm.
channel, then anything else that you might want to do is more relevant than what ChatGPT or
Right.
Gemini would tell you, because they are not based on your own existing content. So to someone listening that's thinking of using AI to enhance an offer, a product line, I would say it's not so the idea is not you want to embed ChatGPT in your tool
Right.
the idea is if you can locate places where users, when you look at product analytics or when you speak with the team, you can locate places where users are just stuck. They're not finding the idea or something is too complex for them. Then it gives you an easy way to figure out how to prod them forward, like giving them the opportunity to move forward. And this is a huge multiplier.
Right. So now, as the technology is also new, so you must have faced some challenge during the development, especially from a large language models point of view. So any piece of advice for managing those challenges, and even if you have some examples?
I'll speak about one marketing challenge before the one technical challenge. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
One marketing challenge was at the beginning, we were just a little bit too early, and it was very hard to sell an AI tool in 2021, 2022.
True.
Like right up until November 30th, 2022, when ChatGPT came out, was really tough because you would say, we have this artificial intelligence software, and people are like, is this like in the movie Space Odyssey or something? Like, is it going to try to kill us or what is it? But when ChatGPT came out, people had their minds open. So it's better to be early than late, but still it was a frustrating experience for a while. On the technical basis, I would say one of the challenges from a product point of view, so I'm going from marketing to product to technical.
Yeah.
From a product point of view is we want to be one step or many steps ahead of the generalist tools.
Okay.
Because we don't want to build a specialized ChatGPT, for instance, because this is a very risky business to have, because ChatGPT is literally trying to do all the tasks that you could ask from an assistant. So you don't want to build something that's going to get steamrolled, to quote Sam Altman himself. At the same time, you still do want to manage to be to have the roadmap build on capacities that the models don't have yet, so that by the time it goes from roadmap to in the queue for this sprint, there will have been our own model or a open source model will have this capacity. So this is the challenge. We're always dancing a little bit with this line where it happens almost every 2 weeks when I do the live calls with customers, when we release a new update and somebody asks for something that is just technically impossible at this point of time. I still put it on the roadmap because I know that by the time it comes on our execute this now, the models will be ready. So we keep our lead. On a technical point of view, what was difficult, especially with large language models, not really with the other kinds of models, computer vision models, the ones we use for audio, all of that is fairly easy to iterate on. The problem with the large language models is the capacities and the tooling evolves fast. And frustratingly fast. So what will happen, and it happened to us a couple of times at the beginning, was I would give an engineer a spec. I'll give a concrete example. I gave a spec right when GPT 3.5 Turbo came out, which is the API for the chat completion of ChatGPT. And I gave the prompt and I gave the spec and I said, here's the feature. And this developer had not yet checked out the API for this model. So he implemented with DaVinci 003, which was the model like right before. And the problem is when you do this, if maybe the skill set of the model, let's say the capabilities are very close, so it's
Mm-hmm.
fine. We didn't catch it.
Right.
It went into production.
Mm-hmm.
Now, GPT 3.5 Turbo went in terms of capacities and capabilities and the context size. It
Mm-hmm.
continued to increase very fast,
Grace. Right.
and this feature was left behind because it was implementing an old model. And then OpenAI deprecated this old model.
Mm-hmm.
So this entire toolkit
Toolkit.
overnight was just dead, and we had to rebuild.
Okay.
And so I've seen it. We just did a code review on Monday,
Mm-hmm.
and I just noticed some things in old code where they had the model name
Name.
and date, like
Good.
GPT 40 dash, and then there's the date. And
Dave.
if you
Yeah.
do that, then your model is never getting updated.
Mm-hmm.
And one day it gets deprecated.
Mm-hmm.
And so with these, I find you have this frustrating balance all the time of you don't want OpenAI or
Mm-hmm.
Anthropic to change their API because they release the new version of that model and
Right.
break everything. So that's why you might want to use the dated model.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, you don't want to get lost behind.
The way.
So yeah, this is one of the frustrating parts of it. I believe that the ecosystem is going to get better over time with this, but it's been a cause of many sleepless nights building with LLMs.
Right. Okay. Thank you so much for sharing the feedback. Now, being a tech founder,
Mhm,
what some challenges did you face on marketing the product to bring a new audience,
mhm.
new your subscribers, or paid subscribers? What what did you followed any pattern or any techniques?
Um, so first of all, depending on who I'm talking to,
Hmm.
I am considered either a tech founder or a non-tech founder. I
Okay.
mean, meaning technical,
Hmm.
because I have this technical uh, expertise, but I'm not the one that's
Right.
building a product. I'm designing product, but not building it. Um, the marketing side is my expertise because that's
Okay.
what I've been building.
Mm-hmm.
I got the engineering degree, and then I went
Right.
straight into running a business for 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
Um, However, the toughest part about marketing for me
Mm-hmm.
has been to unlearn the habits of marketing that I learned from information marketing, growing a coaching business that had a sales team, online funnels, things like this.
Okay.
So there's a certain way that these businesses
Mm-hmm.
grow and
Work.
communicate and sell. And for software, you do things a bit differently.
Mm-hmm.
And so um, over the years,
Mm-hmm.
I've presented thousands of webinars. My first webinar was in 2000. So I had this amazing formula
Mm-hmm.
of welcoming people. You educate for about an hour, give a lot of content, and then you
Mm-hmm.
link that to the offer, you make the offer. And
Mm-hmm.
when we came out with the software,
Mm-hmm.
we used the same formula to sell it.
Mm-hmm.
We had a webinar with hundreds of people there for the launch.
Mm-hmm.
In the comments, I had many people that had watched many of my webinars before, and they said, "It's the best webinar you've ever done. It's so amazing. I love it."
Mm-hmm.
And then when it came time to make the offer, we made, for the first time in my entire professional experience, we made zero sales. And this
Mm-hmm.
was a terrible reckoning moment. I was like, how is that possible? It's like if I had been selling, um, which I've done before, if I have been
True.
selling a book,
True.
a physical
True.
product, a webinar,
Mm-hmm.
a live event, a coaching
Mm-hmm.
program, we would have made hundreds of thousands on this event. But here
Mm-hmm.
I'm selling the software, which is cheaper,
Mm-hmm.
and nobody's buying it.
Robert. True.
So I went through my little cycle of crying and being really sad,
Mm.
crying in my beer, and then I reframed everything
Okay.
and thought, for the software, if we go deep into the information mode,
Mm-hmm.
you'll
Mm-hmm.
not talking to the main thing that the software is supposed to do, which is it's going to do the work for you. So you don't need to know all of these things. You just need to see it in action. And so I changed the formula. And right now, our best performing sales method is a funnel where we go from either a Facebook ad or somebody invites their audience to our webinar. The webinar is a demo. I have a short intro where I explain what this is for and who this is for. And then I do the demo. People see a before and after. One of my terrible videos, I put it there. I click one button, the AI does it. I show the result. And then I make the offer for the subscription. And then I answer questions. And I answer questions until everybody has left the call or bought. So sometimes I stay with, if there's a large audience, I might stay 3 hours answering questions. And this formula with a much shorter, it's not a class. It's just the demo, just see the software and I'm going to answer your questions. This new formula closes 1 person out of 6 that attends. So if I have 100 people on the call, 15 will buy. If I have 1,000 people on the call, 150 will buy. And it's been like very interesting switching from the mindset of all the other products we've sold before to now being in the mindset of selling software.
Very good insight that from the software, a SaaS-based business point of view, that show actual demo, the working product.
Yes. And show the before and after. I got that insight from Dylan Frost, who's an amazing online entrepreneur. And he basically told me, he saw one of my presentations. He said, your demo is, the main problem of your demo is that you already know how to speak in public. And so when I was doing my demo, my before video was better than most people's after video because I've spoken in public for now 20 years. And so he said, you need to make the most terrible before video. And so I made a new one where I'm coughing and I get interrupted and my girlfriend like brings me a glass of water while I'm talking and I'm like shooing out of the room. And I repeat myself 3 times and I say the wrong things and fix them. And now the before video is absolutely awful. And I show that when I use that and the AI turns it into the professional results as if nothing, right? And this one is such a much better contrasting demo.
Right. Okay. So before we conclude for today's session, maybe a couple of questions more from a adoption point of view. As you said, it was like from 100, 300, and then thousands, and then moving on that one. So is there a correlation with your new audience intake? How you're measuring it, that your efforts on maybe marketing or showing versus these new customers that which you're getting it, they are on the right trajectory, which is fulfilling your marketing appetite or maybe marketing effort.
You mean how do we
how you're measuring your marketing's effect or marketing's impact on your new audience which you're getting as subscribers?
Okay. Okay. So there's 2 things I'd like to mention. One is about pricing. One is about features.
Okay.
I'll start with the one about pricing. A lot of I've been from the minute I had the idea, trying to immerse myself in the environment of startup founders, indie hackers, everybody that was building a product, a technical product. And what I noticed as one of the main mistakes, which luckily, since I've been teaching people how to start businesses, I could recognize this as a mistake, is most people try to go at it as if you're climbing a staircase or a ladder. So they start with, I want to make this product, it's not going to be great, I'm going to make it free. And then once I'm happy enough with it, I will start charging a few bucks a year or a month. And maybe when I have a mass that's large enough of users, I can start charging like enterprise prices.
Okay.
And this is a recipe to never get the business off the ground.
Okay.
Because it's super hard to get people to try things for free
Right.
when the things are not super polished. It's hard to get
True.
them to try it. It's hard to get them to stay. And then it's even harder to get them to convert to paid when it's like the first year of the software. So I decided to do the opposite.
Okay.
So what I'm saying, I'm going to say it chronologically. Today we have a way for people to try our tool for free. They can go, instead of going to the main website like OneTake.ai, if they go to try.onetake.ai, they can just upload any video and see the AI do it and translate it for them for free. But at the beginning, I didn't absolutely not want to do this. I said I'm going to do the opposite. Because when we start, the software is going to be a little bit rough around the edges.
Right.
It's not going to be good for all the use cases. So we're going to, initially, the only people that will want to pay for it are the people that feel the most pain and difficulty and time waste with their existing solution. So we can sell it at full price to those people because
Okay.
their problem is so acute that they really need a solution, even if some things still kinks need to be ironed out. So we started with selling just the yearly subscription for very first
Okay.
user.
Okay.
And that's how the revenue came for the first, I would say, probably 9 months of the company.
Okay.
And then from those first users and their feedback and improving, then I thought, okay, now I'm comfortable enough to open the quarterly subscription, which, by the way, is still our best-selling subscription, is the quarterly. And it
Okay.
has the best retention as well. So, yeah, like the average retention, it varies depending on marketing campaigns and things like that. But people will stay 2 years on both the yearly and the quarterly, roughly, and it's improving over time. And then after a while, I said, okay, I'm comfortable now that I know the numbers from the quarterly people. I'm going to open monthly.
Okay.
And most people do the opposite, right?
Opposite.
But at the beginning, you need the cash to come in, and somebody that buys an MVP type product, so minimum viable product that you just started building, if they buy it with a 14-day trial, and it's an MVP,
Right.
the likelihood that they are going to bounce within the 14 days is very high because they are not committed yet.
Right.
Somebody that buys a monthly subscription for the MVP, they expect, and I've seen this, they expect the return on investment to be within the 30 days. Otherwise, they will
Okay.
not renew.
Okay.
And so if it's an MVP, maybe it takes more time to onboard the people. If they have a bug and you need to help fix it. If they have a feature request, you might not be able to do this within these 30 days. So the
Right.
refund rate is very high. However, interestingly, somebody that buys an MVP level product, so in our first year, on a quarterly or yearly basis, they are not expecting their ROI from the tool to come within the next 4 weeks or 30 days. They are fine if they had a bug on week 1 and you fixed it 3 days later, and they had a feature request on week 3 and you delivered it on week 6. That is still fine because their first renewal is in 90 days. So it gives them more time to assess how much the tool has helped them and whether it's worth renewing. So that was the sweet spot for us for a long time. And still now, when I do a presentation, whether it's at a conference or in a webinar, I will always make the offer for the yearly and quarterly. And the monthly is really, it's like a last ditch offer that we don't actively promote because it doesn't drive the same customer. So that's the point about pricing. And I said the second point was about features.
Right.
So this is again related, as I said earlier. Today we have this try.onetake.ai link. Right? At the beginning, I didn't want to have something like this because at the beginning you have a small feature set of core things. that are not sexy, but that are useful for the most engaged possible customer. And so I watched at the very beginning of starting OneTake, I watched a presentation, and I think it was from Guillaume, the French guy that founded Lemlist.
Okay.
And I learned two things from his talk. One is he said from the beginning, you need to have your software be in multiple languages. Even if you're not selling in multiple languages from day one, just because it's so hard to internationalize software that was written in one language. So from the very beginning in our spec, I told the designer, this software has to be in two languages. Because if you can do two, it's just like a JSON file per language.
Right.
And so we started from the beginning like this, even though I was only selling to French-speaking people for the first few months. And then what happened is I got invited to speak to a Japanese audience, and we were able to roll out the Japanese version in one afternoon. I got invited to speak to a Mexican and a Brazilian and an Italian audience. In the same month, we rolled out 4 more languages because we could just add 4 JSON files. You could not do that if you hard-coded all the labels in your software. So that's the first thing I learned from him. The second is the more features you have, the more sales you will make. And the reason for that is every time you make a presentation, there are people that say, this is interesting, but sadly, it does not have X. And I would buy it if it had X. So every time you add one item to the covering and it stays within the core of what the product should do,
Right.
You will get this additional customer will convert who would not have converted otherwise. So at the beginning, we increased very fast in features. And then in year 3, we started addressing technical debt, scalability, basically making things more solid instead of running after new features. But at the beginning, it was very important to get this feature set to be wide enough.
Okay. Thank you so much, Sebastian, for joining to the show. So if someone wants to reach out to you, which medium is the best one for?
So they can join us on our website, which is OneTake.ai, super easy. As I said, if somebody just wants to give it a try, see themselves speak a new language, see the results, they can do try.onetake.ai. And just recently, we've started our own YouTube and Instagram channels where it's just OneTake AI, because we want to start producing and promoting some content about content marketing, video marketing.
Right.
This is my number one skill before I started this business, and we want to share some tips and tricks around that.
Thank you so much, Sebastian, for joining. Thank you.
Thank you, Kashif.